had 116 pills in my possession that I took in front of my mom.
Wait, you took 116 pills
116 pills
in front of your mom?
In front of my mother.
What was she doing? Where was she looking?
She was looking at me like I'm looking at you now. Went on to say, Hadi shota unjoyed. Let me know if you need more. I'll give you my blood pressure and everything else that I have in the house. So because I had attempted twice before and it just landed me in hospital, I wanted to make sure this time that I don't survive. Because all I did the first 2 times, I would get in hospital, they would make me drink fluids, vomit the pills out, and I would survive. So this time around, I had fully planned it. I'm going to take the meds, then I'm going to throw myself into the first oncoming car. The paramedic in the ambulance, she kept on hitting me. Yes, don't close your eyes. I remember there was a silver thing over me. And I remember hearing my mom say, but now when you're closing her with this silver foil, it's like she's dead. And the paramedic says, Mama, do you understand that this person can die? That's how bad she looks. When you get to a point where you want to kill yourself, you hear only 2 things in your brain. You hear that I'm alive, but I'm in pain. If I die, I'll be at peace. So you have those 2 options laid in front of you because of the noises that you hear in your head. And at that time, the only thing you think about is, I just want peace. I don't want to die. I want peace. He video calls a girl in the house. He video calls a girl, tells her, no, I'm so tired. I arrived safely. Clearly, you're giving your reports from somebody that you were with. No, I'm home safe. I'm so tired. I want to sleep. And then they battled with network and he's like, hey, let's continue chatting. So in my mind, I'm so frustrated. I'm like, if I stand up here and I go confront him, it's not going to end nice, So I text him. I'm like, are you seriously going to disrespect me to that extent that you will video call a girl in my presence? And he was like, sorry, you know your person, And because he's been doing this for years, I can easily see when he starts doing his things. This time, he's even cheating with some girl from some prayer group. And this prayer group was created by that girl. They are cheating. And I remember I phoned the girl. And how I found out, I was trying to use his phone to research something. Mine was battling with network. And as I switched on his data, a message pops in. Okay, no, baby, good night.
Oh.
So clearly it's a response. And when I go into the chats are cleared. I'm like, oh, okay, who's this? And he denies. Then I phone the girl. When I phone her, I'm like, didn't this person tell you that he's married? No, he did. And then what are you guys doing? She keeps quiet. Eventually, I hung up the phone and I'm like, this is not me. I've never phoned a girl in my life. It's almost like as Bazalwane, we are expected to stay even when the situation is no longer conducive. We are expected to stay even and pray it away even when you are dying. So do we get to a point where we say, is it okay for us to keep living a lie? Yeah, he had some symptoms and they said, no, these are the early symptoms of HIV. So you need to bring your wife since you said you're married. So he called me. And when you go to a place and you've got confidence, like nothing's gonna come up. I know myself. I've been faithful in this marriage and like nothing's gonna happen. Then
Yes.
2 lines. You guys are HIV positive.
Hello and welcome back to the Hope Revolution podcast. My name is Mraro and I'm overjoyed that you decided to click on this specific story. I hope that this won't disappoint because for me, this is a story that's got a lot of essence. That's a story with direction. That's a story with great lessons that you and I can pick up and use. This is the Hope Revolution podcast. You are at the right place. Remember, we are spotlighting you on the screen below. So if you want to see your name here, don't hesitate to drop a comment in the comment section. Give our visitor, give our guest some love. Send her inspiration, send her motivation, but most of all, send her money. If you have money, send her money. Reach out to her and say, what's your account number? We want to send you some money for the work that you're doing. By the way, while we're still on that topic, we've opened a membership channel segment to this channel. We want to, start with season 3 of this podcast where we actually do not shoot here. We want to go out and take people to counseling. We want to actually document those stories. In the back end, people are experiencing the counseling sessions, but you guys don't really get to see them. We need to also just drive some funds into a place where we transport people from their homes and take them to the funding spaces. We actually help people where it matters. If someone says, hey, bro, I don't have a bed, I've been struggling, what, we come in there and we highlight that, and we take whatever funding that we've been getting from you guys, we send it over to them to say, South Africans are out there and they care about you, and we highlight those stories. So please do subscribe, do join the memberships section. It's just $80 a month. I mean, come on. If you do have, maybe I'll open a lower tier to that, so that people that have a maybe 50 Rand or 30 Rand can also be joining into that section. But we want to have more impact. I'm tired of sitting here. I'm tired of just talking. I want to get out there and see if we can connect and speak to the people that have come here to this show, other people that need our help but can't get here. We need to transport them here and get them into the show. So, yeah, guys, we are very excited to introduce that. Without wasting a lot of time, we will start with our episode. Sawubona sis. Njani? Nkhona. Thank you so much for taking time to come through. I know coming to these places is never an easy thing, especially if you are sharing your own story. So we appreciate you for doing that. Also, sizothi ubani wakuphi?
Unthateng wakamkwena. I stay in Katlehong.
Oh, nice. Yes. So nice. So happy to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
You look so professional. Like you look ish. I feel like, yeah, you know what? I should have bought my blazer. But yeah, we really appreciate you, man. Please tell us about Ntateng, and where does she grow up, in what kind of place?
Okay, so Ntateng is, sure, it's quite broad, but I grew up in Free State in Kestel, and then I later came to Joburg when I was around 8 years. Yes.
Okay.
My mom was a domestic worker, so I came to stay with her, and I was practically raised by my mom's former boss. Okay. Yes, I'm a mother of two. Recently got divorced. I'm a child of God above everything else. I love God, I serve God, and yeah, that's me. And yeah, I'm a silence breaker. I'm a survivor of many stories.
Powerful. I love the silence breaker element. I feel like it's got a lot of essence to it. I feel like there's a lot of depth to that. Yeah, but without wasting more time, I really just want to know, what brings you here today?
I'm here to break the silence on the stigmas that are around there, for women, for men as well,
okay,
for children of God, for divorcees, for rape survivors, for people that are battling with mental health. Yes, that's why I'm here.
Sure. What happened? I feel like there's quite a lot that happened. I don't even know where you want to start, but just start where you feel you want to start. I really just want to know what motivates you to want to move like this. What happened?
Okay, so Silence Breakers is an outreach program that started because of my journey with depression. My journey with depression started very young. I was in grade 9 when it started. I would say grade 8, but it started being visible grade 9. The main reason behind my depression was my mom. My mother was a toxic person, okay. And I say was because by God's grace we have restored the relationship. So she was in and out of abusive relationships, and she desired and loved alcohol very much. So that it put me in a very difficult position. So I had to witness a lot of things that were happening in front of us from my mom's side. Her being beaten and some sexual things would happen in front of me. So that's where the depression started. And when I was then in grade 9, I then decided to go and moved to Free State. Prior to that, I was staying with my mom, going to an Afrikaans school. Life was good. Apart from what my mom was doing in the life that she was living, life was good. But because of how it was affecting me, I chose to go to stay in Free State.
Okay.
And Free State is my grandmother's house. They totally different setup. At that time, I don't know how to speak any African languages, because as soon as I came to Joburg, I started doing everything in Afrikaans. So Afrikaans is my first language.
Sure.
So now I had to move to Free State where I don't know any African languages. I have to now go to a Sotho school, which was quite challenging, it was quite challenging. But because the situation with my mom, this side did not stop, I would still experience it even when I'm far. I remember at some point, I think I was in grade 10 when I came to visit her for school holidays, and I found her eyes were completely closed up. That's how badly she was beaten. She could not speak, she could not do anything, and that image alone is what drove everything out of control when it comes to my mental health, because from there on, I could no longer focus. And part of me started hating the male figure because I felt like they robbed me of my mom, They robbed me of being a normal child. And partially, I hated my dad as well for not being there because I was not raised by him. Only saw him once. I was raised by my mom. So my dislike towards men at that time started from there.
Sure.
So that's where the depression started. Yes.
Going back to your experience with your mom, let's look at the most, I would say, present memory where it all started. I know you're saying that it came to the forefront of your mind when you saw her eyes closed.
Yeah.
But prior to that, when you realized that you are actually now having different thinking patterns, what would you say is that one experience that made you realize that this is wrong?
I think it would be her drinking habits, the manner in which she would drink. And, when you have to look at your mom drinking and falling in the streets and, such an image. So that's when I realized that, okay, things are not going. So because of the image that she would bring also to me, I started disliking even being with her in public. And I started sort of like disliking her as well. And the not focusing at school started from there. I would always be crying in class, and they would ask me, "What's wrong?" Like, my mom is always drinking. My mom is always being beaten. So that's where it started. Yes.
Sure. Do you feel it got worse from then on?
Very much, yes. It got worse. I remember what tarnished our relationship. I was, I think, around 2021, years later, and I fell pregnant. Me falling pregnant, I think around 3 months, I lost the baby. I had a miscarriage.
So sorry.
So by that time, we were still staying where my mom was working in a back room. And I went to the hospital. I got cleaned up and everything fine. I went for counseling that very same day, and I came back. I was discharged the following day. And the day when I got discharged, it was a Friday. I got home. My mom left in the evening to go drinking with her boyfriend at that time. They went drinking, and then they came back around 11 p.m. drunk as hell, and they wanted to come sleep there where my mom was working, which was a one room. So it was a one room. Everything is done in that one Wendy house,
Sure.
And I remember saying to my mom, "You can't come sleep with a man here. I literally just got out of hospital. Like, can you not allow me time to heal?" And sure, the words that she said that day, to put it plainly in Sesotho, she said, "Ha o so folelo fola, o bodile popelo, and you want to come and tell me at my place what to do," which translates to then your womb is rotten and you haven't even properly healed, but you want to come and talk too much. Those words stayed with me for years. They stayed with me for years, and I think from there on, the relationship, it was hard to try and restore until God had to step in. That is the peak of what I remember her breaking me in.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the employer, who is basically the person who's raising you, is housing you guys.
Yes.
In his property.
Yes.
And you basically are in a Wendy house.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So they do eventually make it back. And then what happens when they get there?
Nothing really. In all honesty, I would say in all the occasions where there has been instances where my mom would break me and things, everything would just be brushed off. Everybody, she's a sweet talker. My mom she's very good with her words. Even when she's drunk, everybody would prefer to be around her actually when she was drunk. If you can ask my cousins, their aunt is the best, So nothing was ever done. Everything would always just be brushed off as if nothing happened.
Sure. Hectic.
Yeah.
So I hear you saying that your mom got better. You rekindled your relationship. At what point? What was the turning point there? Would you say?
It took me surrendering everything to God. I got saved at a very young age. I got saved at the age of 16, but in the midst of that, I would still live my life. You know, you would be drinking, you'd be partying and doing all of those things. But I think it's 4 years back, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. When I took it to God and I said to God, I've taken the decision to quit my depression medication and trust you. I don't want to depend on pills anymore because I feel like a zombie. But I know if there's one area of my life that I'm battling the most with is my mom. Because I would go at times 3 months without talking to her and I would be unbothered. Nothing would trigger me, you know, because I would protect myself. I would always say that I'm loving her from a distance. And I remember God saying that you cannot be a servant of mine because I'm a prophet. He said, you cannot be a servant of mine, you cannot be a child of mine and then still walk around in bitterness. What are you preaching to the people, you know? And I had to put it upon God. I had to surrender everything and allow God to take me through the healing process. I remember when God gave me an instruction on how I need to forgive my mom, what I need to do. It was the most hardest season of my life because we were approaching my mom's birthday and God said, you are going to honor her, as my word says. And I said to God, how do I honor a person that has broken me? Why is it my responsibility to do beautiful things for her when she has broken me? Is it not supposed to be the other way around? And God said, but healing is your responsibility. So whatever you do, you are going to do it for you, not for her. And the instructions was I needed to do a birthday party for her. I needed to get things and wash her feet and anoint her feet. And I needed to tell her that I love her. And it was an emotional day. It was an emotional day, and I got to say everything that I wanted to say that day. And that's where the healing journey started. And that's how I started to learn to forgive my mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
In her corner, how is she?
Currently.
Yes.
I would say, you know, one thing that I've realized in my journey of healing is that our parents were raised in an era where you know, they were raised to be strong. They were raised to be imborodo. And I would love to believe that in those years, they didn't know much about depression. They didn't know much about being neglected emotionally. So her being the last born, I picked up a lot of emotional neglect from her parents. I picked up a lot of rejection from the family. You know, you can understand having a brother that is in the HR and your other sister is a teacher, and then you are a domestic worker. Somehow she was looked down on, and I think she knew it, she felt it, but she didn't know how to deal with it.
Okay.
And then she met my dad. My dad, who was everything to her. My dad came and closed the gap that her family had opened. And then when she fell pregnant with me, she didn't know at that time she was pregnant. Hormones kicked in, they started fighting, and she decided to leave. And when she got to Free State, the first thing they picked up, my grandmother said to her as she walked through the door, "You are pregnant. We can see by the knees." You know. And they went and confirmed that she was pregnant. She informed my dad, and my dad was like, "Okay, but if it's mine, why did you walk away?" She says, "I didn't even know." They tried to keep the communication, but eventually they lost contact, and that's how they separated. So in explaining how my mom is now, I would say that she's okay, but there's a lot of things that she has not dealt with. And losing my dad is another one. I think that's where the resentment towards me that she has started. Because when I had to analyze it, I saw Uguti, this person gave her everything that the family could not give. He closed gaps that she didn't even know existed. So now I come along and they're separated. So I feel like she somehow blamed me that I took away the peace that she never knew. I took away the love that she never knew. And just like that, she lost everything.
Sure.
Yeah. So she's okay, but she there's a lot that she has not dealt with. Yeah.
How's your communication with her now?
It's good. It's very good. We still have our clashes, you know. I think at times she tries to somehow still be the mother of that little girl, and she forgets that that little girl is now a mother as well. So here and there we would clash, but yeah, the communication is good. Even this morning I spoke to her and I said to her, "Oh, I'm going on TV," and she's like, "Yo, to talk about what?" And I'm like, "About my whole life." She said, "Even me." I was like, "Yeah, even you. I'm going to tell people and
Sure.
and show people that God can restore." And she's like, "Oh, okay, we shall see when it gets on air." I'm like,
Sure.
"Okay,
Hectic.
yeah."
I'm hearing you speaking very clearly about things that would happen before your birth. Where do you get this information? Who sits you down and tells you all of this? Because not all of us have the privilege of knowing the build up towards our birth, because obviously we are not aware, we're
Yes.
not there. How do you access this information?
With the rejection from the family, you would hear at times how my mom speaks about her mother. You know, how the excitement would be only when certain things are being done, when there's money involved, you know. And you would hear the communication that she would have with the siblings and her late siblings. So you could pick up from there that there was a lot of resentment and a lot of rejection. And when it comes to my dad, sure, when my mom talks about my dad, she bubbles up.
Okay.
She bubbles up. You can see she's talking about the love of her life. I think that is the only reason that still makes me desire to meet him. You know, I really I've been looking for him. I've been trying on all social media platforms. I've been looking for his family, but with no luck. So that's the only reason that makes me want to meet him, because when my mom talks about him, she lights up. Like uthi bekamphatha njengeqanda, you know, he was very protective over her. So you can hear that he brought something into her life that she didn't have prior to him. So yeah, she talks about that a lot. So I get all the information directly from her.
Powerful.
Yes.
At what point in your relationship that door to this information open?
When she's drunk. When she's drunk, because at times when she's sober, she would have a bit of a door that she tries to close. But when you catch her in her nice moments, you'll get all the information out of her. And I would start it in just, you know, soft way. "Mom, how was dad?" And she would then explain how my dad was.
Oh, powerful.
Yeah.
Maybe let's throw it out there and speak to anyone who, you know, has probably known your dad. Let's talk about him a little bit in terms of what do you know about him, so that anyone who's watching could then be able to have an idea as to where was this person, who was he, and so on.
So his name is Pete Mpao. He was also known by the name of Tozi. All I know is that he's originally from Bochum. He used to stay there, and he used to work at the Musina bus terminals years back, before I was born, because I was born 1990, so that was like before then. So that's all literally that my mom knows. He's originally from Bochum, and he used to work in Musina. I know that I'm his firstborn. So part of me wanting to meet him is because I know that I've got, I think, two siblings that my mom knows about. His wife at the time was Frida. And yeah, that's basically all I know about my dad. Yeah.
Did she ever describe his features, his height, or anything like that?
He looks like me.
Oh, nice.
She says everything about me used to remind her of my dad. The height, the facial, everything, even how I walk like my dad. So, yeah.
Wow. Powerful.
Yeah.
No, so if someone is out there and you can, you know, put the dots together and give us an idea of where my sister can look to, please don't hesitate to give us that information. It would really be such an enlightening story to have you united with him.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's something that I would be very excited to witness.
We'll come back and share our story.
Please, no, take me there when you go to him. I'll bring my cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think so from there, I still feel like we are progressing towards the you said the silence breaker.
The silence breaker, yes.
Yeah. What would you then say starts to happen? Now you've experienced depression. You're at a state now where your mind is transforming and it's becoming something else that you didn't know before. In your life journey, what would then be the next milestone towards your growth in that respect?
So I think a lot of things happened when I moved back to Joburg. I dropped out of school in grade 11. So I failed grade 11 and I went back. And then when I went back, I couldn't cope anymore mentally. I was always distracted. I couldn't focus anymore. And that's when the journey with depression medication started. So it started when I was in grade 11. And then a year after that, I moved back to Joburg to come and stay with my mom. That was 2010, if I'm not mistaken. And to try and then fix my life, go back to school, I went to Aron Muyedi Adult Center to try and get my matric and all of that. And then I got married the first time. Okay. So I've been married twice. Then I got married the first time. In all honesty, I think I was not ready to get married at that time. But because of the situation at home, I think when he initiated that we should get married, I agreed because I was like, you are literally the only person that I have, you know. So we got married and the marriage didn't even last a year. Yeah, I didn't even last a year. Emotionally, there was a lot of abuse, you know. And yeah, I eventually got to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm walking away from this. And I also felt that because the depression was still at its peak at that time, we were constantly fighting. It was just not working out. Mm-hmm. So when I then started working at the company where I'm working now. And that literally drove the marriage off the rocks because he would complain about simple things. You're wearing too much makeup, you're looking too beautiful. And I remember there was a day where he literally took a taxi with me and returned by the gates of my workplace. And I was like, can you be this possessive?
Hectic.
You know? And I think it's those small things that made me realize, like, no, I can't do this anymore. And I walked away. And, you know, that alone, it was quite a journey, you know, mentally within the church. You know, you can imagine you just got married. It's not even a year and you already want to divorce. My mom also, it took a knock on our relationship because she was excited that I'm now married and then now you just want to walk away. You're seen as a failure, you know. Women are taught that and you persevere no matter what. And now I'm breaking that. And yeah, I walked away from my marriage.
Sure.
Yeah.
What would you say changed about you when you met him and when you separated? Because obviously when you meet someone, you're in love with them.
Yeah.
You are in sync with them. What changed? I understand that there are probably parts of what he did. Mm-hmm. There are changes that happened with him too, probably. But with you, what would you say changed, which then contributed to the escalation of the separation?
I think the attitude grew more because as much as I was already on meds, but I wasn't really dealing with the effects of the depression. I was a person that had a big temper, you know, and with regards to him now becoming the different person, it unleashed that side of me, you know, and I think that's part of the main reason why I decided to walk away because I had to acknowledge that I'm not okay. I had to acknowledge that even if he can get help and become a better person, I need help more than he does, you know. So yeah, I needed help mentally. I needed serious help. Yeah.
Okay, so you were battling with your own mental issues?
Yes, I was battling with at that time, I had not even dealt with any part of what caused the depression. At that time, I knew my mom was the reason behind everything, but I had not dealt with things in depth. I had not dealt with the fact that I had father wounds as well, which is something that we would think that it's only boy children that deal with that, not having a father figure in your life. But it played its own role. There was a time where, as I said, I hated men. I didn't want to be around men, especially mabashela. You know, I would get very irritated. And then eventually when I got over it, I had this thing of I would only prefer to date older men because at that time for me, it seemed like something normal until when I started my healing journey, I realized that it was that young girl within me that was crying for a father. That made her feel comfortable around older men.
Sure.
Yes.
That is such a deep statement.
Yeah.
It just opens so many eyes to a lot of people who are listening right now, wherein you don't understand where the desire to be with older men comes from
and we
these
are
young
seen
women.
who is fair below? Sorry to use that word, but that's how society views us, you know. You are seen as a person that just, and it's seen as money making things. It's seen as utanda imali, utanda into, and it would not make sense because I've always been a very simple person, you know. Even if I would date the richest man right now, you would not be able to see it. That's just me. I've always been a simple person. I've never liked things. So it was never about the money, but it was about the security. It was about the comfort. It was about the love. It was about the protection. Yeah.
That older, more mature, grounded presence
Yes.
of a man
Yeah.
who resembles what you would need
Yes.
as a young
I didn't
girl.
know at that time that it's what the young girl in me was actually crying for, the
Sure.
presence of a father.
That is deep.
Yeah. So it wasn't just about the I had a present mother, but she was actually still also absent, you know. So I was somehow dealing with two absent parents, even though one was present, but I was dealing with two absent parents at the same time. Yeah.
The impact of an absent father.
Yeah.
That's
It's very deep.
So maybe moving forward, then you have gone through what you've gone through, as you're saying that the first marriage didn't quite work. What would you say from his side? What changed about him in your eyes?
He became possessive. In all honesty, I can say that he wasn't ready for marriage as well. I think he had pressure from his family, and he put pressure on himself with age and all of that, you know. And so I think once we are now in it, I don't know whether should I say the insecurities came out, you know, as because a lot of things started when I started work. And I would sit down with him and say, okay, I'm so open with you. When I'm in a relationship, I am so open to an extent that I bring this payslip home and say, this is what I'm getting and this is what I've done with it and this is what's left, you know. So it's not like he would have any reason to say, okay, you've changed and you're doing things differently. I remain the same, but the insecurities just grew stronger. So I don't think the insecurities were not there. I think that maybe me starting to work, it sort of like brought it out, and maybe he felt like, okay, now I'm no longer going to have control. Now she's going to meet different people. Because I remember at some point he literally said, "What if you meet somebody better than me?" And I said to him, at that time, the type of work that he was doing, it was not even work that would, you know, attract the modern day woman, you know. But I loved him beyond that. So money for me was not really a factor. But he still wouldn't understand that. So the insecurities got worse, and it got to a point where emotionally it was abusive. It was getting toxic.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's the one trigger that made you decide to leave? That one thing that says, enough, I'm going.
So when I met him, I had already had my son. Yeah? And my son was staying with his sister when I started working, because I was working shifts. I was working in the control room. And so when he then started having issues about me working, I remember at some point she called me and said, I must come see her. I was coming from night shift and I went there and I went to visit. And while I'm sitting, he arrives. I was like, okay, why are you here? No, I just came to visit my sister. Then his mom and his older sister arrive. So now the whole family is there. This is a family meeting. And nobody told me about it.
Sure.
And I'm alone. Nobody from my family is there. It's only his side of the family. And I was sat down. I was told that he's not happy about me working. He feels that he's just not comfortable. He couldn't give proper reasons. He's just not comfortable. And he wants me to stop working. And at that time, I felt like I just started working. Financially, we are doing better because now there's two incomes, you know. So it didn't make sense for me to quit. So I said, no, I'm not going to quit, you know. And he had started developing this trait of when him and I would argue, then he would not talk to my son. He would just be a bit cold towards my child. And by that time, my child was like a year, 2 years. Well, he was still very young. So I think my son was the main reason I decided to walk away, because I felt that if he can't show love towards my son, that means you also don't love me. And so when I refused to quit my job, I was told to choose between my marriage and my job.
Sure.
And I took it light at that time. I said, you know what, let me move out. let me rather go stay by myself and give you some space, and maybe your family will also cool down. I moved out. I moved to Tembisa from Katlong. I moved to Tembisa. And he came to visit and we spoke. It seemed like everything was fine, but he went back and he was like, if you don't want to come back, then we might as well divorce. And I was like, okay, if that's how you feel, because I'm not quitting my job, especially because I feel like this is the security that my son needs. And that's how the divorce proceedings started, because I didn't want to quit my job.
Sure. How was the experience with the divorce process?
It was smooth.
Okay.
It was smooth. It was very smooth. We didn't fight. There was nothing to share because we had literally just started. So, yeah, it was smooth. I literally, when I moved out, I took only my clothes and my son's clothes and the toys, and I started everything from scratch.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does this impact you personally?
I grew. I grew as a woman. I grew as a mother. I grew as a person. And it allowed me to work on myself.
Okay.
Especially on the mental health aspect. It allowed me to work on myself, Yeah.
So what kind of work would you say you started doing?
I went for counseling, something that I was much against. I went for counseling, even though it wasn't for long, because I think I'm a born counselor, as that psychologist called me. I attended a few sessions and she said to me, at times it feels like you're counseling me. And she actually said, you need to go in and study clinical psychology because you are very good at it and you've been called for this. And I attended a few sessions, and in all honesty, the one thing that helped me was prayer. Nothing else. Prayer has been my biggest source of strength. Had it not been for God, those 3 suicide attempts, I wouldn't even have gotten to the third one.
Sure.
Which the third one was the peak of everything because my mom was there. But yeah.
About the suicide attempts.
Yes.
Powerful to say that you're now with God. I don't want to downplay the importance of that in this story. The suicide attempts, when do these happen and what triggers them?
It would be, it happened in different years. But the last one was, I think, around age 21, 22. And that is the one that I usually mostly talk about because my mom was there. She was present when I was attempting suicide. That week, I went to the clinic from Monday to Friday, complaining about a different thing every day. The first day it was the headache, then my stomach was cramping, just so that I can collect pills. And, the devil is so smart. I believe that the sisters, something just made them not even pick up that, but then this person has been here for 2 days, this person has been here for 3 days. They didn't even think of transferring me to the hospital for evaluation or anything. They just kept on giving me medication. And that Friday, I had 116 pills in my possession that I took in front of my mom.
Wait, you took 116 pills
116 pills
in front of your mom?
In front of my mother.
What was she doing? Where was she looking?
She was looking at me like I'm looking at you now. Went on to say, Hadi shota unjwets.
Haibo.
She's like, let me know if you need more. I'll give you my blood pressure and everything else that I have in the house.
And then what happens to you?
And then when I started feeling dizzy, the guy that I was dating at that time, I don't know what made him call me because him and I had not actually been speaking for like 2 weeks. We had a fight. He just out of the blue phoned me and he's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. He says, you're not. I can feel it where I am, you're not. And my response to him was, you don't have to worry about me anymore. You'll just come to my funeral. And he immediately, because he knows the previous attempts and he knows my past, he immediately hung up, he phoned the ambulance. And all I remember was I walked out of the Wendy house. I went through the first small gate. So because I had attempted twice before and it just landed me in hospital, I wanted to make sure this time that I don't survive. Because all I did the first 2 times, I would get in hospital, they would make me drink fluids, vomit the pills out, and I would survive. So this time around, I had fully planned it. I'm going to take the meds, then I'm going to throw myself into the first oncoming car. Because where we were staying, it was on a main road. So I remember starting to feel dizzy, and the vision was getting blurry. Then I went through the first gates. All I remember was I went towards the last gate, which is the main gate. And the plan was to jump in front of the first oncoming car. And I knew by that time I had waited until I get to my weakest. So I knew that there's possibly no chance of me surviving because of how weak I would have already been. So all I remember is till that gate. So according to my mom, she says she followed me and I fell by the gates. And by the time I fell, the ambulance arrived shortly after. From there, I just remember a glimpse of the paramedic in the ambulance. She kept on hitting me here, say, don't close your eyes. You know, I remember there was a silver thing over me. And I remember hearing my mom say, but now when you're closing her with this silver foil, it's like she's dead. And the paramedic says, Mama, do you understand that this person can die? That's how bad she looks. And the only thing that she kept on saying, please don't close your eyes. Please don't close your eyes, because if you close your eyes here, you are gone. And we got to the hospital, they got me on drips, and that is how I survived.
Sure.
And I remember when I then fully recovered, one of the nurses says to me, why don't you want your mom to reprimand you? And I remember looking at her so confused. I reprimand me? What do you mean? Your mom said you took pills or whatever you took because she didn't see. She found you at the gate, Otomakwe. And she says, but prior to that, you guys had a fight and she was trying to reprimand you for something that I did, I can't recall. And I said, but I don't understand because this person was there when I was taking the pills. And the nurse was just shocked. But that's what happened with the last attempt. Yeah.
Hectic.
Very.
I can't picture bringing myself to get to a point where I want to take my life. It's just where I am psychologically. Mm-hmm. But now being where I am also, I understand that that's a psychological state of mind.
You hear voices.
Yes.
And I think what used to irritate me about people used to say, and they still say it actually, people say that a person that commits suicide or attempt is selfish. Can never be selfish. Mm. When you get to a point where you want to kill yourself, you hear only two things in your brain. You hear that I'm alive, but I'm in pain. If I die, I'll be at peace. So you have those two options laid in front of you because of the noises that you hear in your head. And at that time, the only thing you think about is, I just want peace. I don't want to die. I want peace. Mm. And that's why people don't understand it. People think you just want to die. You just want to escape everything. I don't want to die. I don't want to leave my son. I don't want to leave my son behind. I just want peace from all the pain that I'm feeling, because now depression had affected me physically as well. I suffered a mild stroke. So this right-hand side of mine is not fully functional. I can drive and everything, but when I go into deep stress, it goes numb. You know, so people think that when you commit suicide or when you attempt, it's being selfish. You're not being selfish, and they would usually say that, don't you think of your children? Don't you think of your family? Mm. The irony is you think about everything. You think about even the day of your funeral.
Sure.
You see everything.
Hectic.
Like literally you see people crying, you see the coffin going down, you see them planning your funeral, and it breaks you before you even attempt. So you attempt even in brokenness. Mm. So it can never be selfish. You're just trying to, part of me was like, I'm trying to spare my mom also the misery so that she can have the peace, because clearly she doesn't want me around. That's how I felt. She doesn't want me around. And I felt like my son doesn't deserve to have a mother like me. I don't want to leave him, but I just want to be at a peaceful state.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's so deep, because I think it also to us who surround you, the people who attempt, we are also selfish in a way, because we don't try hard enough to put ourselves in your shoes. Knowing what someone close to me has told me to say, that suicidal mindset, it's a psychological state of mind.
Yeah.
It's much like happiness. It's much like sadness. It's much like excitement. It's much. Then it's sort of a space that your mind comes into.
That's correct.
It's not who you are.
Yes.
It's where your mind goes. So that person said, picture it as a destination. Picture it as a place you go to. Not you. You
Yeah.
are not that person. That sort of state of mind is a place that you go to.
Yes.
And if you come out of that place, you go back to being yourself. What would you say took you out of that place? Why has there never been another attempt again till now?
Sure. Prayer. God. I think after that, God connected me to people that cared a lot about me, people
Okay.
that prayed, people that forced prayer in my life. And I think for me, when I started taking my relationship with God serious, then that's when I had strength and wisdom to be able to fight back. And it took a while for people to actually realize that I was actually going through something, because one thing about depression will turn you to a good actor. It offer PhD at drama. People will be surprised, because I think had any of those attempts proceeded, people would be asking themselves questions. But she was okay yesterday, and I've always been a motivator. I've always been a person that would always. I love people. I love working with people. I love helping people. So it would come as a big shock, but she was helping us yesterday. So in all things, it was God. My relationship with God is what got me out of depression.
Amazing.
Yeah.
No, powerful. I think I'm I don't think we could speak enough about this topic of depression. I don't think we could ever get to a point where we unpack the different layers that people go through and how deep they go.
Yeah.
Because we don't all go to the same place.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is another milestone, because I still have the silence breaker concept
Yeah.
in my mind.
Yeah.
Tell me about your next milestone, because in this journey, I want to do justice. I don't have enough time. I want to do justice to your story.
Yeah.
What then happens? Because I feel like there's a very big part of faith that comes into your space.
Years later, with my relationship with God and working on myself, I then 4 years ago, I meet a gentleman, and it was I wouldn't say it was love at first sight, but yeah, we clicked. We met on Facebook. I had reached out to him. I saw he's a pastor. I had reached out to him. I needed some spiritual advice. I'm still working on myself, remember, and I'm still finding my feet in my calling. So I reached out to him. I asked him a question, and we started talking, spiritual things. And a week or two later, things fell into place and we got into a relationship. So with him being a pastor and all of that, I think that's what made us rush into getting married. And I say rush because I honestly feel like we rushed into things. We got married about a year later. And the relationship was good, I would say. It had its moments, but whatever led to our separation is something that God showed me even before we got married. But I disobeyed, and I chose to continue with the marriage. So we had a case of infidelity a couple of months into the relationship. And I tried to convince myself in the beginning that, he's been single for a while and he's a pastor. So obviously he has a lot of female friends around him. And even when the evidence was there that this is not just a female friend. But I still stayed. A year later, we got married and it never stopped.
What happened? What would you say were the building? How did it build up to you saying, it's enough?
About a year ago, so when I fell pregnant with my daughter, things had already, I've got a daughter, she's turning 2 in December.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So things had already been sour. I remember the Easter when I fell pregnant, last year, 2024. He had left home saying that he's going to Mozambique to visit his family. He hasn't been there in a very long time. He probably doesn't even know how to get there, but apparently he wanted to go there, you know. But yeah, because we had had a fight, and I was like, just go so that we can also get a breather. On his way there, he's like, don't contact me. I need space. I'm like, oh, okay. And then when you come back, I must just go continue being a wife, and everything must be back to normal. Oh, okay. Then we didn't talk for the whole Easter. He comes back. The day that he comes back, I wanted to dish up for him, and he said, no, he's not hungry. So I went to the room. My son went to go sleep. He video calls a girl in the house. He video calls a girl, tells her, no, I'm so tired. I arrived safely. Clearly, you're giving a report from somebody that, that you were with. No, I'm home safe. I'm so tired. I want to sleep. And then they battled with network, and he's like, hey, let's continue chatting. So in my mind, I'm so frustrated. I'm like, if I stand up here and I go confront him, it's not going to end nice, So I text him. I'm like, are you seriously going to disrespect me to that extent that you will video call a girl in my presence? And he was like, sorry. Just like that.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, cool. And we worked past it. I don't know if we worked past it or I just pretended like it was fine. But I knew then that it's time to go, Unfortunately, that week when he had left, that weekend he left, the week, because we were okay that week and we had been intimate, that's when I fell pregnant.
Oh, shucks.
So after the fight, the commotion of him coming back, he then, 2 weeks later, I think, he decides to move out. He says he wants space. So I'm like, where have you ever heard of space in the marriage? And he's like, I can't do this anymore. He moves out. About 2 months later, I found out that I'm pregnant. Finally, he finds out, and a month later, I think he moves back home. He says, okay, he wants to fix things and whatnot. And we work through it. And then December, I give birth. January, if not Feb, you know your person, And because he's been doing this for years, I can easily see when he starts doing his things. I remember saying to him, I'm giving you 6 months. If I catch you in the 6 months, I'm going. When our baby turned 6 months, I caught him cheating again. This time, he's even cheating with some girl from some prayer group. And this prayer group was created by that girl. They are cheating. And I remember I phoned the girl. And how I found out, I was trying to use his phone to research something. Mine was battling with network. And as I switched on his data, a message pops in. Okay, no, baby, good night.
Oh.
So clearly it's a response. And when I go into the chats are cleared. I'm like, oh, okay, who's this? And he denies. Then I phone the girl. When I phone her, I'm like, didn't this person tell you that he's married? No, he did. And then what are you guys doing? She keeps quiet. Eventually, I hung up the phone and I'm like, this is not me. I've never phoned a girl in my life. And I think that's when I was like, now you have changed. He has literally changed you as a woman. For you to stoop to this level that you will phone another woman, you're not going to live like that.
Sure.
And I said to him, you know what? It's fine. And from there, things went south. And last year, June, he moved out. Because of infidelity again. Moved out. And when he moved out a month later, I said to him, you know what? This time around, you're not moving back home. Let's just get divorced. And that's where the divorce proceedings started. And he was like, okay, it's fine. You would literally think we were best friends because we went everywhere together during the proceedings.
Sure.
Even when going to the sheriff, we went together. And I thank God because I prayed for that. I said, God, I know that I disobeyed you when it comes to this marriage. And the divorce itself hit me hard spiritually more than anything else. Because, when you go through something spiritually is you run to God to say, Father, how do I get out of this? Father, I couldn't even go to God because I felt like he told you.
Sure.
He told you this before you even got married. So I couldn't even go. I couldn't even pray. So it hit me more spiritually than it hit me. Emotionally, I was okay because I had already made peace even before. I mourned the marriage before I left it.
Sure.
So I didn't battle mentally or emotionally that much. So we went together to the sheriff. They served him there and everything was smooth. We had a bit of an issue afterwards where he lied to the court that I don't want him to see his child. So we had to go back to court, a children's court, and see the magistrate, and he lost the case. And that's how the marriage ended. And it was not a nice journey because the stigma around being a child of God, the stigma around being pastors, and now you are a former pastor's wife, you're now divorced. There's pulpits that I can't even enter on now. I remember that I was supposed to preach somewhere now in August. They cancelled because I'm now divorced.
Sure.
The pastor doesn't want divorcees in his church.
Sure.
Yeah. So the stigma around that, it's almost like as Bazalwane, we are expected to stay even when the situation is no longer conducive. We are expected to stay even and pray it away even when you are dying. So do we get to a point where we say, is it okay for us to keep living a lie? And Pelarona, when we are out there, we are the power couple. When he goes to preach, I serve him. You would not even if you could leave home angry at each other, but if he's the one that's preaching, I will make sure that I take the Bible to the pulpit and I serve him as I'm expected. But then you come back home and you're crying.
Sure. You've opened such a big can of worms. But maybe before I jump into my analysis or my input on your story, I want to find out as well, health-wise, from that whole experience, how are you?
Sure. So I think if there's one regret that I have about not leaving or not even about getting married, is the fact that now we were faced with an HIV diagnosis.
Sure.
That till now, there's no answers to it. When I met him, I had a lot of health complications because of depression had affected me physically. So now and then I would take tests, I would take bloods, I would do all of these things. Nothing was there, 2022, we lost a baby. When you fall pregnant, the first thing they test is HIV to make sure that they protect the baby. Nothing was there. And then I think it was the end of 2023, he started getting sick. He got sick. And then he had to go to the clinic. And so we found out through him. He had some symptoms and they said, no, these are the early symptoms of HIV. So you need to bring your wife since you said you're married. So he called me. And when you go to a place and you've got confidence, like nothing's gonna come up. I know myself. I've been faithful in this marriage and like nothing's gonna happen. Then
Yes.
2 lines. You guys are HIV positive. A lot of things went through my mind, but I was like, I had 2 options. Either you allow this HIV to frustrate you and kill you and take you back into depression, or you're going to take your meds and you're going to live your life to the fullest and use it for God's glory.
Sure.
And that's what I chose. I chose to live.
What was his response?
He didn't say anything. I remember I looked at him and I was like, Mujita. And then he's like, Yin.
Sure.
I'm like, what's this? Like, why are you asking me?
Hectic.
And the nurse was like, are you guys okay? I'm like, no, I'm fine. And I remember her asking me, why is there no emotion? Why are you not angry? Why? And I said, firstly, I know a lot of people that are living with HIV. So for me, the virus itself doesn't scare me because the people that I know, they are living their lives to the fullest. So I'm not worried about the virus. If I were to be angry, I would be angry at the disappointment of, I trusted you. And even when I would find the text and everything, you would say, okay, you're not doing anything, And fine, you will come back and say, but we don't have the guarantee that it's from him. We don't have the guarantee. It could have been in our system for years, but doesn't make sense. That's the analogy that I got, but it doesn't make sense after so many years, after so many blood tests, So we then started our journey. They gave us meds. They said we have to start meds immediately. They took more bloods and I went to work. From that time, took an Uber, I went to work. And I remember the first person that I told was his sister and my best friend, Laverne. And then I went to work. They were just as shocked. I got to work, I spoke to HR, I'm like, this is what's happening. And she's like, you're not crying. You're not frustrated. I'm like, I have my mental health to protect. I've been at my worst when it comes to depression. If I am going to allow myself to sink now, I won't snap out. I can see that I'm going to end up in a mental institution.
Sure.
I know. So I cannot allow myself to go. I have to find a way to cope with it. And from that day, I was like, I'm going to live my life to the fullest. And obviously, because my life had already been out there, I wanted to share about it as early as possible because I knew that one way or another, God is going to use it for His glory. One way or another, I am going to help people through it. But because now I'm still married to Him, I needed to protect Him. He wasn't ready to disclose, And I remember after he moved out in June on my birthday, that's when I disclosed. I went public with it. I made a post. And I remember along the lines, I said, this is not how I imagined I would enter my 35th year as a divorcee, as a single mother, and as an HIV positive person. And it blew. And people now started texting him and sending him messages, asking him questions. And we fought about that because he kind of like semi-harassed me and told me he was telling me to remove my post and all of that. I'm like, you're no longer my responsibility. Now I'm using my story to help people like I've done with depression and everything. And that's how I went public with my story.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hectic. I'm running the dynamics of your story in my mind as you're speaking, and I'm thinking about it to say, how would a me respond to this sort of situation?
You'd go crazy.
How would you receive the news? I mean, just receiving the news or the feedback or that test result telling you that you're positive would send you into a frenzy. But you kept yourself composed.
Yeah.
This experience with your husband,
Ex-husband.
husband, what would you say you have learned, or what has it added to you? Because a lot of people want to look at what it's taken away, but I want to know from a growth perspective, from a maturity point of view, what has it added? What have you discovered about yourself through this same?
Firstly, spiritually, I grew as a child of God. It increased my faith in God. It forced me to trust God more because I didn't know at what state my body was at that point, even though I didn't have any symptoms, and it forced me to trust God more. It elevated my prayer life, and when it comes to emotionally and mentally, I wouldn't say in the marriage itself I grew, but I grew after when I took it to God. And I said, Father, I know that I'm not perfect. There's definitely elements to me that I would say possibly I could have done things better in marriage, I believe that even though we separated because of the infidelity, had you removed the infidelity, we could have made the marriage work. I think if there's one thing that I say I was at fault when it comes to the marriage is I didn't allow him to be the man. Then the reason for that is when he showed signs of failing, instead of stepping back as a woman and allowing him to grow, I stepped in because I wanted this marriage to work so bad. So whenever there would be signs of things that he would not do as a man, I would do them. And I think I had the mentality that, we are together in marriage. If you don't do it, let me do it. I had that, how not 50-50 more. We need to join hands, and if your salary is not enough to cover something, let mine do it. There was never I always wanted things to balance. But I did not realize, even when I was doing overboard. And eventually when I then wanted to step back, when I would realize that, okay, this person is not manning up, and I wanted to step back and say, okay, you know what, let me also be a princess and let you take your position. The shoes were too big to fill.
Okay.
I had set a standard too high in everything, in the household, in the marriage, everything. Yeah. And instead of him finding ways of stepping into those shoes, he chose to pull out. Yes.
You bring forward a topic that I think many couples are battling with. And I feel like you and I could have discussions about this thing for a long time, because these are things that are currently happening in this situation. And my view on these dynamics would be to say, you are at a higher level of awareness when it comes to your finances. You are performing better with what you are getting. And your performance doesn't specifically always mean that you have more. It basically means that you sometimes are able to manage it better.
Yes.
But now we need to break the barrier on his side so that he can also learn from the insights that you have gained.
Yes.
So that we can balance out the playing field and say, Mutwag, look, you don't have enough right now. Let's get you to a point where you have more. You are probably earning a lot, but you don't have a lot. How could we then say we are able to enable you the way that I am able? And now you realize that the problem is not financial. The problem is a relationship problem, which then results as an self-awareness issue, where someone is not good at managing money
Yes.
and the other person is better at it. And those are some of the dynamics that people don't look at to
Yes.
say, you as a man need to lower your ego. Let's talk about how you are managing money.
Yes.
Open up, bring your pay slip. We listen, we don't judge. You get me? And
Yeah.
that's what I feel we fail. But I want us to talk more about in the upcoming episodes, there are Christians in marriages, women who are you in the previous tense. There are women who are you in the present tense. These women are in the church.
Yeah.
At one point in time, I feel that the church failed them because the church did not have the proper structures to support struggling marriages.
Fail us big time.
Yeah, the church was not a place that you could run to say, this thing that you presented to me is not working now. The structures there were not able to repair what they started.
Yeah.
So I want us to talk about those issues in the next episode.
Okay.
I want us to talk about the Christian stigmas that result in broken marriages, in broken individuals, because you break the individual before you break the marriage. So meaning that if we've got so many broken marriages in the church, the individuals are the ones who break before the marriage.
Yeah. That's true.
The broken marriage becomes a side effect of the broken individual.
Yes.
We need to talk about that as well. And I don't want us to wrap your story up because I feel like we could still talk
Yeah.
a lot. And that's where your counseling will come in, where you advise women in your corner to say, this is how you deal with 1, 2, 3. But what I want us to do now is I want you to share your number so that our viewers, our family could know where to find you. They're not going to be able to wait for upcoming episodes. Obviously, they need to reach you now. So if you don't mind, please do share and give us a little bit of an insight about the Silence Breaker initiative and also tell us where we can find you. That's your camera there.
Okay, so Silence Breakers is all over social media. It's on TikTok, it's on Facebook, and my WhatsApp number is 068 160 3097. 068 160 3097. So I assist people with counseling. I don't do it professionally because I didn't study it, but I assist people based on my story.
Okay.
So I'm always available. I always tell people that if you feel that you are having an episode at midnight and you want to commit suicide, before you take the pills, phone me. Let Ntateng be your go-to person.
Powerful.
So I'm always available. A person should never think that, okay, no, what if, I'm always available. So it's aimed at helping people. I say we help people transition from victims into survivors, one story at a time. And we do also go to churches to teach more about mental health, about depression and everything. So I do at times host sessions where people come and tell their stories, and I share my story as well. And I do have people that I work with that also assist with counseling if it needs to be escalated to social workers and stuff like that. So yeah, that's me.
Powerful. Guys, please do contact her, no matter how small the issue. Sometimes things escalate. Most of the time, things escalate. One point of confusion could turn into tomorrow's tragedy if you don't address that point of clarity that you so seek to understand, and you push it to the side and say, I'll deal with it later. Tomorrow, it could then affect a lot or a big part of your life. So don't hesitate to contact Osin Tating. She's ready and available to hear from you. I know there's a lot of you that reach out to us that want advice on 123. Today I'm saying here's a person you can contact, and she'll be back to address some of the issues that you guys have or are raising in the comments. Please do comment below. Tell us, what are you dealing with where you are? Don't hesitate, man. Reach out to us. Tell us, maybe even anonymously. I'm asking for a friend. You could say that we're here to hear you and, respond to whatever questions you have. So we'll be on the lookout for those so that we can include those questions in the next interviews that we're going to have. So remember, we are spotlighting you even in this situation where we're saying reach out to us so that we can speak about the things that you guys want to talk about. This is the Hope Revolution. My name is Mraro. It's been a joy sitting here with you and going through Osin Tating's story. And we believe that you will join us again when we sit with her next time. We thank you and appreciate you, Osin Tating, for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much to our production team at the back end who are making this machine work consistently. We love you as well for being part of this amazing family. Without wasting any more time, it's bye for now.